copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. No copyright infringement intended. All rights belong to their respective owners.
This is War Cry. We're on the walls crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence, Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up! Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is War Cry. Galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in you. This is War Cry. Candles, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is War Cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is War Cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is War Cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is War Cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is War Cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is War Cry. HBCUs under attack. This is War Cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is War Cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is War Cry. Oh, let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches, pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is War Cry, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is War Cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is War Cry.
I know who goes before me. I know who stays behind. The God of Israel's army is always by my side.
Hey everyone, this is another dynamic show on War Cry. Welcome community, welcome. This is War Cry. War Cry for our children, War Cry for our community, War Cry for you to, guess what, stay woke. To stay woke, period. There is so many things happening in this United States of America and even across the world. But I want to focus on what's happening in our urban communities because it appears that everyone is forgetting about we the people. Yes. Everyone is forgetting about we the people. That's why War Cry is so interactive and so important for you to become a part of it. We are praying for thousands and thousands and thousands of children each and every day. And you can add some onto the list by come into our Gmail, warcry.children@gmail.com. This is War Cry. We want to pray for our kids. We know that there is power in prayer. This is War Cry for our children, War Cry for justice. No, we don't have all these political things and all these gimmicks that people have, but what we have is the love of Christ. This is War Cry. We're praying for children that are in the hospital, out the hospital, in correction facilities, on the streets, those that got shot, those that parents are buried. We are War Cry. Somebody needs to stand in the gap, and I told God, send me. And this is what War Cry is all about. War Cry is having a 50-state prayer day on May the 11th. No matter where you are, I want you to pray for the state that you're in, or your cousin in, or your grandmother was born in. We've got to come together collectively and begin to take territory back that the enemy stole. Period. We're going to return it back to its proper owner, and that is Christ. War Cry, join us. Join us. All you got to do is do warcry.children@gmail.com and contact me. Send me your name, your address, and I'll get back to you. Isn't this nation worth praying for? Shouldn't we pray for our kids before they get murdered? Before we have to visit them in the funeral homes? It's our responsibility. Remember, God is watching. Hashtag, what would Jesus do? Come on, bring the other hosts in now. Bring the other hosts in now. This is War Cry. This is War Cry. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you doing?
Morning. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning. This April the 15th morning that the government tells us that we got to have our tax.
Yeah.
And Trump there. Oh, I should not have said that. I should not have said that. But today I know where Mr. Trump is. He's in the same courthouse. Guess what? That the Central 5 was in when they were lied on. Come on here, somebody. Mr. Trump will be in that same courthouse today. Somebody say today.
Today.
He's in that same courthouse that the Central 5 was in when they were falsely accused. Now, he did make history. He's the only president. He's the only president that's being indicted with these many charges. So, Mr. Trump, you made history. But you know what? You talked about our kids so bad. You took an article out in the New York Times.
Right.
You called them savages. The DNA didn't even match up.
Yes.
But baby, they're free because who God sets free is free indeed. It took a minute, but guess what? God set them free. And guess what? Isn't it something? Pharaoh is back in his right place. He's in the same courtroom.
Yeah.
And isn't that's destiny? I'm telling you, that's destiny right there. That I wonder how he feels. But guess what? Somebody told me when you got money, you feel different. Somebody told me that that a white man it's better for a white man who's a millionaire to be charged falsely than a black man to be charged innocently.
Absolutely.
Now that's messed up.
It's the truth.
What you thinking about that, Minister T? Introduce yourself. What you think about that statement?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, that's a true statement. I just want to say, War Cry, I've been a supportive of War Cry since its beginning, and I'm grateful that I'm a part of it and continue to be a part of it in any way that I can. I just want to say, as far as that is concerned, they say what goes around comes around. People in the world say that it's karma, but we say God has the last word. What's done in the dark will come to the light, and your sin will find you out. You can't continuously think that you're on top of the world and it's not going to come by. It's not going to come back to you. That's the problem that Pharaoh had when Moses was trying to deliver the people. He felt that he was the God. He had to find out you're not the God. There is a God that is above you. You are not a God. What I say goes. And he had to find that out. And And that's what Pharaoh has to find out, that he's not above the people, that it's not about him. That is, I mean, anybody that says that I can walk in the middle of Fifth Avenue and kill somebody and not be prosecuted, that's a problem. That's a problem.
That's right. Time out. Trump, time out. I'm blowing the whistle on you. Time out. Time out. The IRS goes around here and takes millions of dollars from poor people and put us in penalties and poor people, but they allow the rich to prosper. It's something wrong with that. I can barely live. Let me tell you, my ancestors harvest this land. I'm going to use the word harvest. They harvest this land, but yet you penalize me if I'm a day late or a dollar short. Something is wrong with this picture. But Mr. Trump now is sitting in the same courthouse that the Central Five sat in. Something is wrong with what the system is. He sits there as a rich man, and the system is probably going to allow him to be free, but they put 5 innocent black boys because of a lie of a testimony of somebody. Now, I am not saying the lady did not get raped. That is not what War Cry is saying. And we stand behind any rape victim and say that we want the people who did it to go to jail. But unfortunately, these 5 didn't. These 5 people didn't.
They didn't do
These 5 people didn't. And because we have that theory in our head, all black people look alike. I don't know what that means. It's 3 black people on this line now. We don't look alike. The only thing it is that we got the same color. And guess what? We got the same DNA of the Holy Spirit. That's our likeness. All right, Dr. Payne, what do you think about this?
Well, I'm so glad the Bible said, be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatever man soweth, that shall he also reap. He's getting what he's deserved. That's number one. And not only that, but you see what he put the young men through and how they need to be punished and they need to be doing all that. And he's skating around. Now it's his turn. Now he's going to be under the fire. Now he know how it would feel. And it's just like coming back to him. But that's why I'm so glad that God he sits up high and looks low. He looks out for each and every one of us. We may be going through something, but we have the victory. And we always say we want Trump to get his due shit. He's getting it. In due time, God has a way of doing things. We want it like yesterday, but in God's own time, you're going to see more things happening to him. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
It's God's time. Go ahead.
He has already been convicted of a crime. He's already with that woman. He's already been convicted of a crime of sexual inappropriate. What he did with that woman, and it was an $83 million settlement or something like that. But he's already been convicted of a crime, and he's going to try to say and degrade the woman. Oh, she's not my type anyway. Who are you? He's so degrading. He talks about immigrants. Every wife he had, maybe the second wife wasn't, but every wife he had was an immigrant. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, you know what? I hate to say that this is war cry, but white power.
Yeah.
We got to admit white power. We always say black power, white power. But you know what? I say Holy Ghost power. Hello.
Amen.
Because the Holy Ghost is not a discriminator. He is the originator of the power. Come on, somebody. You don't want me to preach up in here. He sits high and looks low. And guess what? The Bible says in Revelation that every man will get his reward. Every man, every woman will get his reward. That goes for me, you, and everyone else. This is war cry for justice and for our children. It's so critical that we go and start voting campaigns because we got to get out the vote. We got to get out the vote. We got to get out the vote because sitting down talking does not get anything done. Now, I just wanted, before we go on, I want to talk about some things that happened this weekend. There was 2 officers killed in Epigenetic, upstate New York. We want to pray for their families. We're not really clear on the details. We think also the person that actually did the shooting was killed as well. But we want to let you know some things that's going on upstate. Also, there was a stabbing in a church in Australia. Our churches are not safe.
No, it's not.
Our churches have gun violence. Come on here, somebody. Stabbing. Come on here, somebody. Theft. Come in here, somebody. And the doors of the church are supposed to be open. And these lunatics come in there. Now we've got to have police officers or higher security people in our churches. What you think about that, Dr. Payne?
It's terrible.
It's sad. It's really sad. But you know what happened? We got to open our eyes to a lot of different things. Number one, we need the power of God, like old times. When something comes to the church, they would feel shame. They wouldn't even feel comfortable, even come to the church.
Absolutely. But what happened? But you know, a lot of times,
some of the things we was on ourselves. But
absolutely. Absolutely. And let me tell you something.
You don't pay that.
That's some of the reasons.
Go ahead.
Because now, I hate to say this, Dr. Payne, I know you're a pastor. You know I respect you. I am an official in the church myself. However, I must tell the truth. A lot of our churches don't want to be churches. They want to be worship centers. They want to be community centers. They want to be culture centers. When I think of a culture center, I think of a museum. I think of a museum. Am I right, Dr. Patton? I think of a museum. But you know what? Our churches, they don't have crosses. They remove the cross off the front of the church. You don't see a cross in the inside of the church. You barely see a pastor wearing a cross in the church, you know, period. So we did this to a lot of the way we go to a church. It's like we're going to a club. Just on Sunday, maybe, you know. What do you think, Dr. Payne?
That's true.
And to
it becomes like
the pastors.
And
even entertainment.
It's like performing. It's like
and even
not
some
worship God like it should. And it's sad when you get the people to come to church for entertainment and preaching, like trying to out-preach each other and trying to outdo each other and look at it's a performance. It's not the Holy Spirit. They got to let God take over. Now, I do believe that the church should be in the community. The church should be in the community and working with the community. We should make a difference in the community. But if you're not making a difference in the community and you're not making a difference in your church, it's in vain. It's in vain.
It's in vain. Let me tell you something. The church is supposed to be the hub. Jesus is the center of our life, and the church is supposed to be the center of the community's life, the people that they serve life. And let me tell you something. For me, and I'm putting my stuff out there, these brothers are and I think somebody called it out. I won't call her name. She called it out. These brothers are preaching these tight, skinny jeans that you can see all their private parts. These sisters are preaching in these tight dresses. You can see every shape and curve, everything on them. Why don't you put on a robe? Put on a robe.
Yes.
This is war cry. Put on a robe. If that's what you want to wear, put on a robe. We don't want to see your bodies. You are a distraction. Now, maybe I'm saved enough to look at it, and sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm not. Come on, put it out there. But guess what? We got people in there struggling with lust.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And now you up there, and then you make the statement.
We can't be.
That's right. You make the statement. Well, you know what? They should know how the deacon should have been saved long enough to know not how not to look at her. Let me tell you something. The deacon is saved.
But why did you feel as a preacher that you should go up there dressed like that? That's inappropriate. Why do you feel as a preacher? And that is not an explanation. Oh, the deacons ought to be saved long enough that they don't see it. That's not an explanation. You're a man, a woman of God. Why are you dressed like that? That's inappropriate.
The church has got to return back to holiness. That's everybody, me included. Can I raise my hand? Me included. With God, if we are going to change this generation, go ahead, Dr. Payne. If we're going to change this generation, we got to do what Christ did. I didn't say tradition. I said Christ was not a traditional person. Matter of fact, he broke all the laws. He broke all because he was the law. He was God and he is God. And let me tell you something else. I was looking at Chicago. Chicago this weekend had 43 people shot. 7 people killed, including a 9-year-old. And we're around here doing what? Where are the churches? Where are the churches?
Where is the church? Where is the church?
We're arresting people. We want to arrest the people to vote, but there's more people dying than we can register.
Yeah.
We need to be crying loud for that. And that's why the vote is so important for our local politicians. Because, see, they handle the local business, the local taxes. I was talking to not really talking. I was in a meeting with the old mayor of Chicago, and she said that one of the things that she was helping to do was to make sure that in our urban communities, that every corner light that had been broken, guess what? She wanted them repaired, because when you break the lights out in our communities, you set up for crimes and stuff to take place, our senior citizens to be abused, to be robbed. Now, that's a small thing.
That is a big thing.
That's a small thing, but it's a big thing when it comes to public safety. Instead of what they're doing in our neighborhood, come on, I'm gonna blast today. In our neighborhood, I can't even drive 10 inches without hitting a speed bump and saying 25 miles an hour and looking at the camera.
Right. But
what
and get a $25 and a $50 ticket.
What are you doing with that money? Mayor, Department of Transportation? Now, I guess I could go with that because they say it's safety. But let me see the statistics of how many accidents happened and also how many people were injured. And okay, say you do have it, but that money's coming to our community. Are you invested in our community? Or are you taking that money, putting it in a big pot and throwing it somewhere else? If we collect $750,000 for people speeding on our block on Linden, are you saying, well, we're going to give you half of that to upgrade your schools, half of that to make sure you got new lights, half of that to make sure. No, that money, we don't see that money.
And also, if you go into Garden City, you don't see any speed bumps. You don't see any cameras up there. You go into Garden City, you drive all over Garden City. You don't see that what you see in our communities. It's not.
This is war cry. This is war cry, and this is staying awoke. This is war cry for our children. This is war cry for justice. If you want to have us pray for somebody, warcry.children@gmail.com. We're inviting 50 people to join us in prayer on Zoom on May the 11th to pray for every state in the United States. Are you scared? Church, where are you? Are you scared? It's time for us to take territory back that the enemy has claimed for himself. And that territory is the blood of our young people.
Absolutely.
It should not be that much blood. We spilled blood as an ancestry group of people. Our ancestors spilled blood in the cotton field, in the lynching field, in the picnic. And we know what that means. Picnic. PICKNIGGER. You know what it means. Let's just say a thing the way it is. And we can be delivered. So guess what? We want you to join us in prayer. We got to pray. And then you know what we pray? When we pray, we got to plan, we got to prepare, and we're going to prevail because we're going to take action. When the enemy knows that we're on our post, we drive him away, and we want to drive him back to the chains that Jude speaks about, to bind him up. He knows his time is short. This is war cry, and we are awoke. I am so awoke. I am so awoke. I am so awoke. Now, I want to tell you something else that was very disturbing to me. I want the engineer to put it up. Mary Allen College, the oldest Black college for women. Look at how it looks. Mary Allen College. is, look at how the condition is here. All right, engineer, let me tell you something. This is Mary Allen College, 1886, the first Black woman college in the state of Texas. It closed in 1972 and it's in runs. Where are our Black leaders at?
Absolutely.
We don't even know about things like this.
No.
Where somebody should have got together and bought this Black historical building and turned it in to another institution for Blacks.
Absolutely.
But yet it's still, we're letting this college that only serviced Black women in 1886, and it's gone. It's in runs. Not only is that happening, come on, War Cry audience, not only is that happening, we are allowing for 3 historical Black colleges in Mississippi to be closed. Valley State University, Alcorn State University, Jackson State University. The Senate has tried to get a bill through the House, Bill 2726, to close these Black, historical Black colleges. And we're sitting here doing it. Oh, boy, we got work to do. We ain't got nothing to do. We're fine. It's me and my. We're fine. And what do you think going to happen to these Black universities? They're going to be just like Mary Allen College. They're going to sit up there and run. The Senate bill is 2726. Well, you know what? I'm going to write some emails. I'm going to tell some people about Mary Allen College in 1886 in Texas. And we know what kind of state Texas was. We didn't even know we was free in Texas until nobody told us. Juneteenth, you forget? Yes, we have forgotten about the real value systems that we have. Mary Allen College and the 3 Black historical Black colleges in Mississippi. Now we know how Mississippi is. Mississippi is the poorest state in the Union. Valley State University is subject to be closed. Alcorn State University, Jackson State University. The bill number is 2726. That's the Senate bill. Now, what we do as Black people, we think, well, this doesn't affect me because you know what? I may be going to Princeton. This doesn't affect me because I'm going to MIT. You know, let me tell you something. These were the only colleges that your ancestors could go to. So guess what? Pretty soon, they're going to be, since we had this great awakening that we don't need affirmative action no more, guess what? You may not be going there. I hope you have an acceptance letter. Because even if you accept it, now they don't want you there, and they're going to make it very difficult for you to stay. Now, I hope you do stay. But what affects one affects us all. Because we're sitting here. I don't understand that, Dr. Payne and Mr. T, how we don't even know our history and what's going on in the world. I'm War Cry. And guess what? All I do is research and get an understanding of what's happening in this great United States of America for our people. That's it. We say we want to be in the know, but we're not in the know because things are passing us by. Period. What do you think about that, Dr. Payne? They're closing down Black institutions, Mary Allen College. Come on, what do you think?
Number one, that's very hurting. That's hurting because look at our ancestors that built that place. That's number one. And it's something that we could call our own. That's number 2. But if we're not careful, even in our own neighborhood, we're going to lose it. And that's why we got to get out and vote, because they're making all these laws against us. They're not for us. A lot of these laws is against us. And if you think I'm wrong, if you're not careful and we don't go out and vote, it's going to be like Jim Crow all over again. That's what they want to do. But we got to wake up. No. If we don't wake up and start doing different things now, we're going to hurt ourselves even more. This is just the beginning.
No, let me tell you something. We are hurting. Because you know what? Even with, we always say colorization separates Black people. the light-skinned Negro versus the dark-skinned Negro. They even put us against each other. Oh, he's from the islands. I'm from America. They try, oh, he's Haitian and I'm Jamaican. They try to always put us against each other. But it's one thing that we have in color.
There you go.
And that's the first thing they see. You know, we as Christians want to say they see Jesus first. And you know what? When I speak, I want to see them to see Jesus first. But before they see Jesus, they see this. And then when they open their mouth up, they see the reality of it. Mr. T, what do you think about closing these black institutions? It's hurt me. That's why I say all these black stars, LeBron James, buy the college. I'm calling you out. JC, buy the Oprah. Come on, girl. You and your girlfriend, y'all got all this money. Gwen, y'all make millions of dollars. This is war cry. Give us some. And guess what? Buy this institution here and help your people.
Absolutely.
Mr. T, what you think?
I think it's disgraceful. But I'm going to tell you, I've heard about it because I didn't know about this college. And, you know, I consider myself somewhat looking at history and researching history. So this kind of bothered me. And to see that this would, and it's been closed since 72. And to see that the college has been closed down that long, and between 72 and 2024, nothing has been done. No flags have been raised. Somebody should have bought this by now. I don't understand. No flag should have been raised. This call, they said officially closed in 72. It's very hurtful. Yeah. It's very hurtful. And our kids feel that, oh, you know, I'm going to get a job here. I'm going to go. See, we think that we're going to be accepted into white society and to white institutions and white education. And that's not going to be the case for many, many of us. A few of us will close into the, you know, we'll fall into the crack. But many of us is going to be out there. We don't even know our culture. Our children don't even know what we are about. It's hurtful.
No, and let me tell you something. I want to put a name out there. Dr. Thelma C. Douglas. Dr. Thelma C. Douglas is heading up the campaign for Mary Allen College. I've already contacted, left an email. She's coming on War Cry. Come on, guys. She's coming on War Cry because we need to let everybody know every church should be involved in keeping our black institutions open. This was the first black college. It was started by the Presbyterians, white Presbyterians. White Presbyterians started this when women was not even considered a citizen and could not vote. But now we've allowed it. We can't expect other people to take care of our stuff in our backyard. You got to clean your backyard out. If you're gonna have a barbecue, you got to cut the grass. We need to come together and save this institution. I'm going to call the NAACP. I'm going to call everybody because this is war cry for justice. And it's war cry for our people, for all people, black, brown, poor, any color. We want to help you. But you know what happened to us. That's why we emphasize usums. So now we're talking about the black vote. How powerful is the black vote? Should we vote? Well, with these institutions closing down in Mississippi, I mean, come on. Mississippi is one of the poorest countries, states in America. And guess what? We still don't vote. Jim Crow laws are still taking place. We've got to get out and show people that we're still in the game. Let me just give you some numbers. In 2024, black people are 14% of the voting population, those that are registered. Those that are registered. Everybody's not registered. And guess what? The highest percentage of black people that vote in the state of Florida, Texas, Georgia, New York, California, North Carolina, Maryland, and Illinois. That's the largest percentage of us that actually vote in those specific places. And you know, I didn't even do the statistics for even that number. Half of us don't vote in the local government races.
Yeah.
We well, you know, I don't care who gets the commissioner of this. I don't care who is the House representative. Let me tell you something. Those are the people we go to first to make sure that before we go to the president. You know, you think, well, I just only vote in the presidential races. But guess what? Those are the people, our elected officials that we put over our communities are the ones that we should be voting for first. It's people died for our vote. Come on, engineer. Let's go to the video, engineer.
Despite the ratification of the 15th Amendment in 1870 that protected citizens' right to vote based on race and previous condition of servitude, things like poll taxes, literacy tests, and the grandfather clause were still allowed due to the Supreme Court's poor interpretation of the amendment. In United States v. Reese, William Garner, an African American, was denied the right to vote by two election inspectors by the name of Hiram Reese and Matthew Fauci. Reese and Fauci said that Garner refused to pay the poll tax, but in reality, Garner tried to pay the tax but was refused by the tax collector. When this case eventually went to the Supreme Court, they determined that the language of the Enforcement Act of 1870 was too broad and that the 15th Amendment did not ban things like poll taxes and literacy tests. Over the decades, civil rights activists advocated against racial discrimination such as segregation, voter suppression laws, etc. The civil rights movement started to see major victories starting in the 1950s when the Supreme Court ruled in favor for civil rights with cases like Brown v. Board of Education. In short, after several nonviolent protests and sit-ins, the movement continued to gain national attention. On June 11, 1963, Kennedy proposed the Civil Rights Act of 1963, with no luck of it getting passed in the Rules Committee. In the same year, over 100,000 people marched on Washington to advocate for both civil and economic rights of African Americans. There, Martin Luther
engineer.
King gave his famous
Engineer, let's go back to the screen. Let's go back to the screen. The 15th Amendment, and we have a video we want to play. The amendment was established and modified in 1870 that gave black men the right to vote, not black women, black men. Now, it gave them the right to vote, and guess what? That right was subtracted.
Yes, it was.
See, we did not increase, we, guess what? Decreased. We decreased. Let's go to another video. And that's what they're doing. They are decreasing and taking away our privileges and our rights. And we are sitting here and allowing for that to happen.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we continue our coverage of the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, we turn to look at the civil rights martyrs who lost their lives in the fight to secure voting rights in Alabama. On Sunday, Attorney General Eric Holder remembered one of the martyrs, Jimmy Lee Jackson, during his speech at the Brown Chapel in Selma. Jackson was a 26-year-old church deacon who was shot dead by a police officer after a march in Marion. He was shot on February 18th. He died February 26, 1965.
Spurred by the murder of Jimmy Lee Jackson, an unarmed young black man. An unarmed young black man. An unarmed young black man. An earlier movement began, and citizens began a march from Selma to Montgomery, across a bridge that was named for a former Alabama senator, Confederate general, and Grand Wizard in the Ku Klux Klan. Right. It was a march along a road that promised to be neither smooth nor straight. A road that led through difficult terrain, a road that had been traveled by generations whose footsteps still echo through history.
Attorney General Eric Holder inside the Brown Chapel AME Church in Selma, Alabama. Well, on Sunday, more than 70,000 people marked the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday by marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. During the march, I spoke with many of the people who come from around the world. I started by asking about the civil rights martyrs.
Rod West saw my dad get into the march. He was tear gassed on this bridge right here. Saw my dad running back from the march, and remember the state troopers on the horses telling the people get in the house, using all kind of ugly names, get in the house, ends, get in the house, end lovers or whatever. And I remember one white civil rights worker from up north picked my sister up, Rachel West, and we were trying to run into our apartment. My dad was telling us to get into the house, and the state trooper actually tried to make the horse come up in the house, swinging at the civil rights workers. So my dad got tear gas, and remember hearing the sirens or whatever. It was about 500 or 600 marchers, and you still had a lot of people in front of Brown Chapel Church that day because the governor and the mayor kept sending the word back to the church that they had dogs and tear gas and billy club trying to scare the marchers from marching.
Tell me about Jonathan Daniels. We were just at Brown Chapel Church and they raised his name. Mm-hmm. He was a white seminarian. He was an activist who came here. Okay,
Jonathan Daniels was a white Episcopal minister that lived with us in the GWC homes. And I still remember vividly that the day he was killed, he went to Lowndes County trying to register blacks to vote. They let him out of jail. It was him and a Catholic priest and 2 black girls. And the guy that ran the store told Jonathan that
they went to buy some food at the store.
Right. And so the guy pulled a shotgun on him, told him that he was not going to serve any blacks or end lovers in his store. Jonathan stepped in front of the black lady. And
because he was scared she was going to be shot.
Right. Jonathan died instantly. And a Catholic priest, Father Morris Road, was hit here. He's still living today, and those 2 black girls are still living today. But Jonathan was killed instantly.
Dr. King would later say that what he did, what Jonathan Daniels did, was one of the most heroic Christian deeds of which I have heard in my entire ministry, was performed by Jonathan Daniels.
That's correct. You know, Jonathan was a brave, original man. As a matter of fact, Jonathan's parents and girlfriend begged him to leave Selma, Alabama, and come back to New Hampshire. And I heard Jonathan tell him back in the bedroom that he was going to stay here in Selma, Alabama. He said God sent him to Selma, Alabama to work with the poor and help people register to vote. And his mom, dad, and his girlfriend just broke down and cried because they more or less felt his death. But Jonathan said that he was not going to leave Selma, Alabama. And he did.
Jim Clark. Ain't gonna let no Jim Clark turn me around.
My name is Rob Hardees, and I'm the pastor of All Souls Church in Washington, D.C. Our minister, James Reeb, was martyred in Selma 50 years ago this week. So we're here today to continue his march for voting rights. James Reeb marched with Dr. King on Turnaround Tuesday. 2 days after Bloody Sunday, Dr. King organized another march. And he marched people across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and then they turned around.
Okay, engineer. Okay. Now, with all this we've seen, Dr. Payne, of how many people died, and I want to call his name out, Jimmy Lee Jackson. He was a 26-year-old black man in the march. And guess what? He had his grandparents there with him. And when that troopers came out to shoot at his grandparents, he laid against and he was killed. I want to say his name, Jimmy Lee Jackson. Now we say everybody else's name. We say everybody else. We say Martin Luther King's name. We say John Lewis' name. We say Philip Rudolph's name. We say Warren Wickler's name. We say Malcolm X's name. We say James Farmer's name. We say Jesse Jackson's name. We say all these names. Now I'm not finished. Those are black men, but I'm gonna say we say Fannie Lou Hames' name. We say Rosa Parks. We say Angela Davis. We say Shirley Chisholm. We say Ella Baker. We say Dorothy Hydes. And guess what? We say Mamie Till's name. These names we say, and many more to the list, but we forget about those names that maybe was not as famous, like Jimmy Lee Jackson, who died saving his grandparents. He died out there fighting for our rights to vote. We owe it to our ancestors to, guess what? Register our people to vote.
Yes.
If we can get buses to go to Atlantic City, buses to go to Baltimore to the Sea Festival, we can buses to go to Sight and Sound. We can get buses to take our people to vote. It's critical that we vote this year. Now, people say, well, I don't, who are we going to vote for? We're going to vote for Biden or we're going to vote for Trump? Both of them are old. No, we're voting for democracy.
There you go.
That's what we're voting for, democracy. And Christians, you vote for those that God has put in your heart to vote for. But the problem is we got to vote. We can't let, Biden's old, Trump's old. No, we're going to still vote and we're going to still make a choice because our numbers need to be counted. Dr. Payne, what do you think about that? What you've heard so far?
I definitely agree with you. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis. Please forgive me.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I feel when I grew up and I was able to vote, I was very excited. There was an excitement that the teachers did, that the principals did. There was an excitement in the air. They wanted us to vote. Those that were turning 18, and the libraries were involved in it. We had people that came. I don't see any of that now. That's not there. Is that our fault? Have we taken it for granted that people are just going to vote? Because I feel that the people in my neighborhood, I feel that they all vote. But what about the people in the other neighborhood? And hey, I could be wrong, but I see them at the voting polls. But what about the other people? Are they voting? Because the numbers clearly show everybody hasn't gotten out to vote.
Everybody is not registered to vote. See, my thing, and Dr. Payne, I'm gonna let you speak, but let me say something. New York State, you can register to vote at 16 and 17 years old. You can register. So when it's time for you to vote, you'll already be registered to vote. I think that every public school should have an office there for registering to vote for our 16 and 17-year-olds. I think every school should have a diplomatical or a system there to show people how to vote and what they're voting for. My grandson wrote a paper on it. He said, Nana, do you know that we could have registered to vote? Every state needs to be able to register 16 and 17, and we need to change the age from 18 to 17 because our kids are extremely smart. If you could change the penalty for felony crimes and send a 15-year-old for a life sentence in the prisons, you can change it from a voting age from 18 to 17. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. And we are not pushing for the right things in America. Period. So we've got to stay woke. Not like what DeSantis said. We're going to stay woke and we got to get out the vote and we got to push our local officials to change the laws.
Yeah.
I'm pushing for the law to be changed. If you could send a 14 and a 15-year-old for prison for life, then you could definitely change it and have a 17-year-old registered to vote. Period. So that's how I feel about it. This is War Cry. I'm not politically correct, so I won't be invited on the reality shows. But guess what? I am on the platform for Jesus. Hello.
Right.
And that's the biggest platform in the world. I'm an influencer for Jesus. Jesus loves you, and so do I. And what would Jesus do? Would he sit around like the church? Shh. Don't say nothing. Let me tell you something. They're not bothering us, so we don't want to bother them. Would he be hung up into denominations? Well, look, that's what the AMEs do. They register people to vote. I certainly don't do that. Or would would he be engaged in the people? Would he say enough is enough? Hashtag, you better get yourself together and do the Great Commission. Hashtag. You know, period. We want to know, well, our churches are not growing. They're not growing. After 2020, the population went down in the church. You know why the population went down? Because guess what? You're not engaging in evangelism.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
So let's get to the real thing.
I met a lady in the nail place, and she said that there were only 8 people in her church, and they had a church building church, and they sold the church because there was only 8 people in the church. So they just sold the church to another church. 8 people.
Yeah. Absolutely. 8 people. But are our churches talking about what our history really lays out for voting? Do we have voter registrations in the church? Oh no, we got to separate what was state from what we do. We separate church from state. Church from state. Let me tell you something. We had Jimmy Lee Jackson, and I'm gonna keep calling his name because when we talk about all the heroes, we leave the other martyrs out that died for this cause on Bloody Sunday. Let me tell you something. George Wallace sent the dogs out after us, stood on the steps of the University of Alabama, did not want a black to come. Well, George, get over it. Well, I can't. Yeah. He tried to do everything he could. And Mississippi closing 3 black colleges. And we got one of the oldest black women colleges, Mary Allen College, and we're not voting? Are you serious? The church is not registering people to vote. Are you serious? Go ahead, Dr. Payne.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. We need to get more active in the community and in voting, because what happened is the church plays a big role in the community. Should play a big role in the community, because the church can speak to the people. Whenever you look at the politician, they come to the church. If you notice, the politician,
Dr. Payne, can I just step in for a minute? They only come to the black church when it's election year. I mean, I have to correct you. Some of the people, I'm like, ooh, and they only come in not to sit in the whole service. The pastor has to make a special little area for them to come up there because they hitting all the black churches that Sunday.
Right.
That Sunday. So Dr. Payne, I'm sorry. I want to go. Now you go back to you.
Right. We need to go out. But what we got to do when they come to the church, we got to make them hold them accountable. See, the churches can do that. You're not going to do what you're supposed to do for our neighborhood. We don't need you to come here. But we got to stand firm. But we got to get our people to vote. That's why they come to us, because they know we got the power. We know we got the numbers. Our people don't realize that we have all the numbers. Our people don't realize that. But the politician and everyone else knows that. The church is the main thing. But our people don't realize that. Even the pastors don't even realize that. They're just there for the money and get what I can get. But they're not really caring about the community and the people. We should have voting registration in the church. Get your people to vote. If you look at Pilate, when they had a choice between Jesus or Barabbas, remember, don't forget, they had a choice. They took an election right there, a vote. In those days, we choose this to be free. That's a voting. And the same thing with the church. We got a right to pick out who we want, but we don't even use our rights. And that's something that the preachers, the pastors should be enforcing and telling the people. We're not getting involved. We only think about ourselves in the pockets. That's what we're not thinking about the community, and we're not thinking about the people.
Hold it, Dr. Payne. Pastor, I need to come in again. You said something key. Now, let me tell you, I just want to be clear with this when I say it, because I know I'm going to rustle some feathers up when some pastors look at war cry. They're going to say, but let me tell you something. We're so interested in having 100% tithers. We don't care about having 100% voters. Back at you, Payne. I seen a sign in a church that said, we got 100% tithers. Now, let me tell you something. That could have been a manifestation of what he wanted, an affirmation of something to be. And guess what? I want 100% tithes. I think when you tithe, you can free yourself from the government because you got money that you can count going in and you can independently help out people. I got that. I understand that. So I don't want to be nobody to get it twisted. But guess what? I want to not only just say that, I want to tell the politician, we got 100% voters. We can vote you in or we can vote you out, because this 100 people got families that vote as well too.
Right.
We can vote you in, we can vote you out. So guess what? We want new street lights. We want a new street here. We want better gutter systems here. We want more police protection. We want to move the smoke shop off of our blocks.
Amen.
We want to move somebody. See, when you got voters, you can do that. But they come out with this list. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And we're like, yeah. Then they use this.
And they
vote for me. I'm black. Vote. We black. You know how black people we black. Then they do a little doubt, and we start saying, okay. Sometimes they'll send us some Kentucky Fried Chicken in. And we're I see you, Minister Travers. I'm gonna let you go. What you want to say, Minister Travers?
What I'm saying is, if you read the Constitution, it says that we are supposed to, we the people. Who are we the people? In order to form a more perfect union, we the people are to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and provide a common defense, and promote the general welfare and security and the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Let me ask you a question. How many black men signed that document?
None.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That document, and let me tell you something. I'm not taking away from the point you made, but that document was signed by black slaveholders, by people who owned us.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, who owned us. Now, and let me tell you what happened, Dr. Payne, is that this religion that we serve, the oppressors took the religion that was made for the oppressed people, the captives, to be free, and they used it against the oppressed.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
They replaced it. Yeah. Now that same religion is for all people, but then they came and decided on who was oppressed and who was not. They failed to realize that black, white, indigenous people were oppressed. They say, well, we're not oppressed. Why? Because we own the land. But how can you own the land that was already here before you came here? So they took the same religion that we have now, and they imposed it on people that was already oppressed. And then they took that same religion and had it framed for the oppressor to take jurisdiction over the oppressed.
I agree. Absolutely.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
And the church allowed them to do it. The church allowed. Now we're supposed to be liberal-minded, and we're supposed to theologically understand a little bit better. But we know there's a group of people who's taking that same Bible, and they're hanging out with the ex-president. You know they are. And they are oppressing us again to take us back and to take our rights back. And we've got to get out to vote. You know who they are. You know who they are. Let me just say this. We have, in order to vote, that's very simple. They say you got to be a U.S. citizen. This is for Alabama, because Alabama was one of those states. You got to reside in Alabama. You got to be 18 years old, which I'm telling you now, if you could go to jail for life and get the electrical chair if you're 14, or get the death sentence if you're 14 or 15, we could definitely change it from 17 to 18. We can do anything that we want to. We are the people, as Minister Travers. We are the people. They're one person, period, or a group of senators or a group of representatives that's governing a whole body of people. I could never understand how one white slave, one white man in the sharecropping fields of the cotton can control 300,000 Negroes. And I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
We've got to break that slave mentality.
The cycle has to be broken.
Yeah, you have to. You can't be charged of a felony, and you have to be mentally competent. Okay, I think half of black people in America fit that. You know, but these are Alabama rules here, period. Then now they want you to bring a picture ID. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with that. not going to disagree with that. But then they want you to be, before 1870, you had to come under the grandfather clause. I'm talking about 1870, folks, not 2024. And the grandfather clause means that your parent must have voted before. Well, we were just getting the rights to vote. We didn't get that. You must pay your poll taxes. Well, we didn't have money to pay poll taxes, or you had to take a literacy test. You know how that works, Minister Trevor. You had to take a literacy test. We wasn't even taught to read.
That's right.
There you go.
And some of them didn't know how to read either. But they came under the grandfather clause because they couldn't read.
Yeah, they came under the grandfather clause. So we got to really instill in our people and our young people what the importance of the right to vote. Now, for me, Emmett Till, what he did was very similar to George Floyd. You caused the world to wake up. But once the world is woke,
what you gonna do?
Where do we go? We gotta stay woke.
Yeah.
And that's what we're not doing.
I agree.
All of our young Black kids that are losing their lives, that's going to jail, which they do have a bill being passed that if you're in jail, I don't know what the qualifications are, that you would be able to vote. At first, if you was in jail, you couldn't. I don't know what the qualifications of the bill. I didn't look it up, but they do have that also. But guess what? We've got to go out and change our mentality, because our people say, well, what should I vote? I'm only one person. Your vote matters. Vote for Jimmy Lee Jackson. Vote for Jimmy Lee Jackson, a person who stood in the way of a state trooper in Alabama from killing his grandparents. Vote for your ancestors. Vote in behalf of someone else that cannot vote. Dr. Payne, what do you think about what all our program has been about today?
You're right on point. We got to keep our eyes open. Once you're awake, stay awake, and we got to get on the move, because we don't, things going to go back like it used to be. We don't want it to change. We want to get better. And it takes for all of us to work together. Definitely. We got to stay awake right now. And while we got the fire burning, let's keep it burning. Because we're in the move. We got everything at our disposal right now. We got the power to change everything. But if we let go or slack up, they're going to take advantage. It's no time to slack up now. We got to stay on it.
It's no time. It's no time. It's no time. I'm going to help with some voter registration. I'm pushing the vote. I want to also start a bill that changes from 18 to 17. I'm going to work with some people to help me start that bill, because I think we need to change that. If we can have a 14 and a 15-year-old get a life sentence in our prisons, we can definitely change the voting from 18 to 17. Minister T, what do you think about this?
I think that, as the pastor said, we have to, the fire is lit, but it's not going to stay lit all the time. And if we don't get on when the fire is lit, it's going to pass away, and all we're going to see is smoke. Smoke don't do nothing. You got to have the fire and not the smoke. And it's very, very true. We all in uproar when all of this happened, but it's only for the moment. And people get out there and they protest, but they don't understand that there is an endurance. There's a process that you got to stay on it. It is not just for the moment. And some things has happened to me, and I've been up, blah, 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 blah. And then, 3 weeks later, I done forgot about it, and I done moved on to something else. But we need to focus on this. Are we going to focus on voters registration? Then let's do that. This is the time for voters registration. Yeah. Let's get out in other communities that we're not out and do it. I'm going to have to do that. We have to do that. We have to do that, because when something comes up, we don't stay focused long enough to make an impact. The impact is not there. The yelling and screaming is there. The protest is there, but the impact is not there. And if you don't make
have to have
no change.
Go ahead. We have to have bulldog tenacity. I don't know if you're familiar with animals, but a pit bull don't turn loose. You got to kill him. And then when you kill him, you got to press open his mouth. Because if he die locked in, that's where you're going to be. So we've got to have pit bull tenacity. This is war cry. And it's time for war cry for justice for all people, but especially for those that have been oppressed. Now, let me just tell you something. Let us not forget Mary Allen College. And her name is Dr. Thelma C. Douglas. She's going to be coming on our show to tell us about that. Let us not forget about the 3 HBCUs that are closing down in Mississippi: Valley State University, Alcorn State University, Jackson State University. The Senate bill that they're trying to get through the Mississippi Legislature's office is 2726. Let us not allow them to do that, or they will all fall into ruins, just as Mary Allen College did. Let us not forget that we got to vote, and that when I send you the email about sign this petition to get the voters age changed from 18 to 17, that you sign the petition. I'm going to be calling the NAACP. If you can lock up our black kids at 14 and 15 and give them the elected chair, a death sentence, life in prison, we can change the vote so our seniors can vote, period. Let us place, this is a very important election. This is a very important election. And let us not forget that it's us. We are the people. And I just want to say this before we leave, because see, black people don't read. They said it. They told us. One of the reasons we didn't read is because we couldn't read.
Right.
They made that statement. If black people, you put something in the book, we couldn't read the book.
We couldn't read it. Now we can.
We couldn't read the book. So why we get off of social media, black people? Please. Get off of social media, brown people. Please. Get off of social media,
Native American
and start to read Native American and begin to read. People died for that right. And let me say this to you. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment defined citizenship for those enslaved. And the 15th Amendment ensured the Voting Rights Act. Let us begin to read, because the only thing our black kids know is this. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you. Do you understand?
Right.
Okay, sign here. Right. That's the only rights our black kids know.
Yes. Right.
And that's not the right.
No.
So this is War Cry. You can contact us on our website, War Cry for Our Children. You can contact us on our Gmail, warcry.children@gmail.com. We want to send you a t-shirt that says, I am praying for our children. We want you to get out on the highways and byways and wear these shirts, because the church shall always be the bride of Christ. And guess what? He's coming back again.
Yes.
Will you be counted in the number? What will he say to you? Will he say good and faithful worker, or will you be running around trying to do something to impress him? This is War Cry. Hashtag WWW. What would Jesus do? Get out and vote. See you later next week. Come on. Next week, another dynamic show. See you, Dr. Payne. See you, Mr. T. War Cry for our people. War Cry for Jesus. War Cry for justice. War Cry for the church. War Cry for the community. He left us here to occupy. Are you occupying? Can't answer that question for you, but you tell me, what are you doing to help the cause? Love you guys. This is War Cry. Back at you, engineer. Yes. This is War Cry. We're on the walls crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence. Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up. Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is War Cry. Galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in Ooh, this is war cry cameras, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is war cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is war cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is war cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is war cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is war cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is war cry. HBCUs under attack. This is war cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is war cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is war cry. Oh, let us come together and pray for our young people. Pray for our communities. Pray for our schools. Pray for our churches. Pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is war cry. Home of the brave. Land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is war cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is war cry.
I know who goes before.